Hello, everyone. How you doing? This happens to be episode 4. Welcome to Jimmy V Live. We have an excellent guest that I know for a long time, and so does Mark. Let me bring Mark in right away because we got to get rolling with Mark here. Hello, Mark. What's going on, pal?
Good afternoon, Mr. Jimmy Vigilante. What's the news?
Hey, the only news that I got to say is, unfortunately, one of my favorite rock groups, okay, Eddie Van Halen passed away today. So that was one of mine growing up. That was my thing, the rock and roll. He made the Hall of Fame in 2007. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was been around as something that I definitely listened to when I was growing up. And I don't know if they're going to make any. When's the last time that you heard a band nowadays have a guitar solo? He brought it into the mainstream and he perfected it. So.
Yeah, exactly. It has a son in the band, but it's all different. Of course, it's all different. Music has changed, but hey, that was 80s rock and roll, tribute to him, man. Good guy. Yep. So anyway, we have a real good guest, as you know. Good guy too. I mean, he's been around. Hey, you know what? He did the Bellagio with us, didn't he? Right? He's
all there.
Oh yeah. So I got to bring this guy in because not only is he a good guy, but he is a phenomenal person too. And I got to bring in our local chef that he's been all over the place. He's a great guy, Mr. Chef Mark LoRusso. There he is.
Hey, Jimmy, Mark. Thanks for having me.
What's going on, Chef? How are you?
I'm doing well. We're trying to get past through this crazy times, but things are good.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, Jimmy, let me just. I want to say one thing first. So, since we both have the same first name, how do you want to decipher between the two of us, or are you just going to throw out the name Mark and you're going to expect that one of us answers, right?
Yeah, it's okay. I'll just say Mr. Steele. How do you like that? Well, guys don't like Mr. Steele. All right, just all right. You guys don't know who it goes to.
All right,
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out, man. You guys are getting a lot of good stuff already, man. Look at this, man. People coming in already. Look at that. We're getting a lot, Mark. Hey, you know what, Mark? You bring the best out of people, man. That's good. And you got other people here. Say, this is a good friend of mine. All right. He's the guy who designed my hat. See what I'm saying? So
good.
we got a lot of, we're going to have a lot of fun here. But Mark, let's get started, buddy, because I know me and you and Mark, we started one of the most phenomenal hotels in the world back then. It was more, Mark, you were the culinary side, one of the major guys in the early days of Bellagio, right?
Yeah, I was. It really was a special time. I had the opportunity it was Michael Mina's restaurant, to be the chef. And I knew a little bit about Vegas, not a lot. I was living in New York at the time, but I had worked for Michael in San Francisco for 5 years. And he said, hey, you want to come to Vegas, open the Bellagio? So I gave him a 2-year commitment. So 21 years, I'm still here.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So going from New York to Las Vegas to San Francisco, tell us a little bit about your history and where you actually came along through the food chain. How did you start out? It doesn't come by accident to get to where you are right now.
Yeah, even like in high school, I took a liking to it. I went to the trade school where I had to go half the year to school, half the year cooking. You grew up in an Italian-American family. Food was a big part. So then I headed up to the CIA, and I really loved it there. I really learned a lot and really put a lot of effort into it, I would say. And then I spent a year. I followed this woman to LA. That's another story. But we'll save that for another segment. But anyway, LA was actually happening. It was the early 90s. There was a lot of good restaurants. I was fortunate enough to work for Thomas Keller at a little boutique hotel. I wasn't a big fan of LA, but it was a good food scene for sure. And I really learned a lot about fresh produce and things I wasn't, familiar with. Just really diving into, that fresh produce and seasonality. So I took a trip to San Francisco one weekend. I was like, wow, I like San Francisco. It reminds me more of New York. So I was fortunate enough I opened a restaurant called the Cypress Club. And then I stayed there for a while. And then Michael Mina and George Marone opened Aqua. And I was able to get on relatively shortly after they opened. Started as a cook, got promoted to sous chef, moved myself up, and then just worked hard. And I really wanted to go back east, though. So I went back to New York, worked for John George, for a while. Then I worked for Charlie Palmer as a sous chef at Oriole in New York. And then Michael called me and told me about the Bellagio. So I ended up coming to Vegas in '98, the summer.
Wow, and that was going from small independent kind of restaurants to this giant resort, and it was nothing like any of us saw before. Are there any cool stories that you can tell us about your opening days at Bellagio?
It was crazy. It was really a special. It really was, Jimmy. Like Jimmy says, it really was a special time. Most of us were from different cities, so we had the camaraderie among chefs and the food and beverage. I mean, we all wanted to be the best and all that stuff, but there was this camaraderie. But you see how the town has grown so much, and there was good restaurants here before, but nothing at all like the Bellagio in one place. And but it was crazy, like purchasing. Back then you'd say, "Can I get a pound of truffles?" The next day you get a pound of chocolates. And just the things that you take for granted now. The purchasing and just even the workforce, I think, is, there was good people for sure, but now, Vegas has been such a draw over the years to come to Vegas, especially as a cook. We're now, like back when we were younger, if you lived in a city, you worked hard, you didn't get paid much, but you learned. At least you could come to Vegas, hopefully learn from a good chef and make a living and live decently. And I use that as a draw for all those years.
Well,
great.
Mark, I remember the first time I met you. Okay, I'm coming in, Mark Steele, you'd love this one. I'm coming in, I'm walking in the place, right? And Mark, they're all getting everything ready. Mark's with all his guys. I mean, Ren worked for you. He had a whole bunch of people working for him. And here comes Jimmy Vigilante with the suit, right? The suit, the tie, the works. Mark says, "What do you want?" What do you want? I said, "Well, I'm here to inspect you." Inspect me. I didn't even start nothing yet. That's how I'll never forget that. But he was cool because then once he saw the program, he really enjoyed it because it helped you out with the engineering department. Remember all those days?
Yeah, for sure. And, you live in a city, you see the health inspector like once a year maybe. So that was a learning thing. But, I think Vegas is probably the toughest place as far as the health inspections, which is great,
Yeah,
sure. It definitely keeps you on your toes, and it keeps Jimmy employed too. So
yeah,
keep on being tough, right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
So tell us about what's your current position and where. So you left Bellagio.
So then, I stayed at the Bellagio for 6 years, and I had a close relationship with Michael Mina. And but then I had the itch to kind of go out on my own and see if do my own thing. So when the Wynn opened, a lot of us came over because of the connection, obviously. So I went to the Wynn, and I've been here 15 years. So the restaurant's called Costa del Mare. It's the Italian seafood. So I'm back doing seafood. So I've been here almost 5 years now. So it's exciting. I mean, I feel really fortunate that I have 2 hotels that I work that really care about food and beverage.
Wow.
And
Tell us about the cuisine. Tell us about the seafood of your current restaurant.
So 95% of all the seafood is imported from Italy. So it really is a cool process. We have one guy that we mostly work with, and he works with over 40 fishermen. So we'll give him a call. He'll do give about 24 hours. We'll give a wish list. He gets back to us what he's able to get, what he can't get. Sometimes he'll send us videos. Hey, I got this. So it's really unique. I mean, we'll have a lot of Europeans come here, a lot of Italians, and be like, "Well, I live in the north of Italy and I don't get to see this," or "I live in the south and I don't get to see this." And it really is. I mean, we pay for it, obviously, but it's 24 hours from the time we order. He calls back 24 hours later, another 24 hours to fish his hair. So it really is.
Wow. What does it go on? I mean, what is it? Does it go on a normal commercial airline, or how does it come to you?
Yeah, normal commercial airline. Yeah.
With the ice all packed up.
All ice packed up. We're taking champs, Jimmy. And yeah, no, it's really a unique process.
And straight from the airport to you, or does it make a stop at a distributor somewhere?
No, straight from the airport. We have a driver that drives it to us. So no middleman. Straight from Italy to Vegas.
Wow.
That is that's truly amazing. Well done for setting that up. What are some of the fish that we should look for at your place that maybe we've never heard of before?
One of my favorites, the Dentex, the Imperial Snapper. Nice big snapper, so sweet. During times of the year, we have Maleke, which is the baby soft shell crabs. So a little bit like similar to the East Coast Chesapeake Bay soft shell crabs, but these are nice and small one-biters. They come from the Venice area. They're great. Our octopus is really good. They have these great machines in Italy where they tenderize them for us. So they come in fresh, not frozen. They're already tenderized from like this big washing machine, basically, and then we'll poach them. So really, there's a good variety. And then, we have branzino and lots of different snappers. We have a Chicala lobster that's hand dived down in Sicily, are pretty unique. We don't always get them. So that's what's cool about it. It's not like always the same fish. So, and I believe like fish is seasonal, right? So if we don't have fish, it's okay. It's just like, produce. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Not arrogant about it, but, serving the best product.
And you say your guy sends you a video? How does he send you a video?
Sometimes he'll send us a little like video. I'm like, hey, I got this, something maybe we didn't order. Hey, I got this,
Wow.
He's like, and he's so passionate. It's a family business, and he's so passionate. He gets excited. Came out here. We spent some time in Vegas, and so it's a great relationship.
Hopefully, you got a chance to go there too.
Oh, look, I'm talking over Mr. Steele here. I'm sorry, Mr. Steele. Go
no,
right
I was going to say, I just hope that you got a chance to go over there too. They just didn't
I did. I was there a couple of years ago. I was planning on going this year, but obviously things changed.
Sure.
Well, no, fresh fish is where it all becomes, man. I love fresh fish because I grew up in South Florida, so I used to catch a lot of the fish. You know what I mean? And used to eat a lot of fish. Do you ever? I don't know if this is available here because I know it's South and it's years and years ago. Are blue crab hard to get, or is it not a delicacy, or is that just like a certain part of the country, Mark?
They're big down south, right? That whole Virginia area. But I think I got a few times at Bellagio where most of the time we'd make a soup out of it. Great flavor. A lot of times you could buy picked blue crab now and picked lump crab, but it's great for flavor as far as like stocks in a crab soup. But even like back in the Bellagio days, we would call the fish, and back then we were just able to use the phone and just call the order in after service. I was using the company we used in San Francisco. I would call the order in, and then it would be here, on Southwest the next day by 12.
Well,
and like Mark says, the difference between an independent restaurant when you're involved in the casino and stuff, you have those luxuries to use that kind of stuff.
Well, you guys answer this question. When that Bellagio first opened, wasn't there, because I learned all about, because, as an inspector, you walk into this place, you don't know anything about food costs. I never heard that. What's right and what's wrong? But I remember a lot of the conversations back in the day where Bellagio had a huge food cost allowance when it first opened up. Was that correct?
I don't know. I mean, usually when you open a place, the first month is kind of a wash, but and it was definitely, the motto was, buy the best you can, don't skimp on anything. But we answered at the end of the month for sure. So it wasn't a free for all, but it was, maybe we had a little pass at first.
All right.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Well, Matt,
So tell us some way, Chef, that you've had to change some of your operations in the meantime, with everything that's happened over the past 6 months. We know that where you're at is basically the top of the food chain when it comes to being proactive. What are some of the changes? How do they come from the top and trickle down to you, and how fast do you guys have to move to do these things?
It's something that we take very, very serious, and there's no there's no excuses. You're not on the team. You're not gonna work in the kitchen. Obviously the face mask. At all times. We do a questionnaire every day, like a little health check before you come to work that you need to answer. We take every employee's temperature when you walk in the building. If it's not the right temperature, you can't work for the day. Every single box that comes from the outside, produce, everything is sprayed with bleach, sit for 5 minutes, then sanitized. We have timers in the kitchen. Every few hours we stop. Even if it's a little distraction to get the food takes a little bit longer, we stop, we bleach and sanitize the whole kitchen. And it was tough at first, you're not used to it, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting popped, but now it's like clockwork. So it's something, like you become proud of it actually, that you're doing these things right now.
Especially now. Right now, what I mean?
And, and I think, the hotels that we've worked at have always been, the highest, is being cleanliness and stuff. But this is definitely a whole nother step too.
And we ask a lot of the chefs that come on. We had various chefs from all different types of restaurants, we always asked them during that pandemic time, right? Was it hard to obtain your product compared to, like on a normal basis? Did you see that some of the vendors were like having a hard time as well?
Yeah, it was either two things. You either a hard time of getting stuff, and then you also got to be careful because then all of a sudden there's this surplus of stuff, right? This trickle down effect, right? The restaurants aren't as busy, so the stuff's still growing, right? So you definitely have to watch it too. Things being passed off, and you feel bad, right? But obviously you can't accept it. So that's whole domino effect of
And how's been the business level in general in your?
I think business is definitely good, but as you know, being in Vegas, people that don't know Las Vegas think it's just this big party in town, and it's that part of it. And we have the gamblers and all that stuff. But in this town, it's built on conventions, right? So
Yeah.
Until we get the conventions back, it's that whole domino effect, right? The conventions and the valet and the airport's busier and all that stuff. So. I think until Vegas gets the convention back, I think it's going to be challenging.
Yeah,
Okay.
we lost a couple, right? Recently, we lost some big ones.
Yeah, how these conventions don't take a month to plan.
Yeah.
So, first quarter of next year, a good amount have already canceled, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an expert on the conventions, but I've heard there's a good amount of canceled already.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get back to where we have to get. I know where they're talking about nationally, the trends are going up. I mean, I put out different things here and there, and I look at our local trends, and they're staying pretty level, man. They're pretty low, and that's why things are starting to open up, and everybody's waiting for that big kick, but I think it's going to be a while before we're wide open. But I start seeing things jump up, like, they increase more, I don't think you're going to see the mask go away anytime soon, but you're going to see things jump up. And, a lot of people say after the election, how all that goes.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens moving forward. But it can only get better, Mark. It can't, I can't see anything going the other way anymore.
That's good.
Both marks.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, as much as that, you don't want to close everything, it was pretty impressive. I think Vegas was definitely proactive, especially with all the money on the strip and all that. I mean, they shut it down pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
So
That's it.
That's gonna help in the long run.
Well, look what happened. Remember, we all spoke about this. Mark and I, we spoke about this. Well, we had a podcast almost dedicated to the food and beverages in the taverns, and we talked a lot about this. In the very beginning, if you guys remember, nobody knew what was going on. We knew it was something, and then we were saying, my God, where are all the officials? Where is the government? Nobody was saying, so I was saying, was this chemical warfare? I remember there was a lot of rumors in the very beginning, and then things come out, and then we just got to deal with it. I was talking to somebody who who used to be in the industry for a long time, and he got out and got back in, and he merged with somebody. Now he's back on his own, and the industry, he says the business is picking up because people want the variety of what he can offer, and it's going to be out there. People are coming back. I see it from all forms of our food and beverage industry. Regardless, on the health department side, they're hiring new inspectors. Okay, it may be hard on the restaurants because the new inspector, how they are, but they're being trained differently now. They're being trained more on a focal point of, let me go out with the lead person and let me learn. Because you guys remember the big complaint last year was, I have 5-6 inspectors coming in at 6 o'clock at night. Well, they're trying to get away from that, and that'll help out you guys on the restaurant side. I mean, the last thing you need is someone to start poking around at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, your busiest time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody's coming together. I see it in our industry. Mark and I were talking before. We're seeing things pick up all over the place, and I can say it's going to be good from my point of view. That's why Mark and I spoke about this when we created the Jimmy V Live, because we wanted to give something back to the industry. And I was talking to you, Chef Mark, before, when you came on before, I was saying, when I first started this, people said, oh, it's going to be Jimmy Vigilante with his health code every 5 days. No, it's not that way. I'll throw something in and out of there, but it's not that way, but we have a good time, Mark and I, and to get guys like you on is phenomenal. I love it.
And I think Vegas has a strong, chef food and beverage community, for sure.
So speaking of that, some of the guys, I know that you've had a couple, well-known chefs around town working for you. Can you give us a little insight on, we talked to one that we just had on as a guest a couple weeks ago. Do you want to give any insight or any dirt on any chefs around town?
You know what? I've had definitely some good guys, and a lot of, and nothing makes you prouder like as a chef to see your sous chef or your chef de cuisine get a good job for himself. And that's what it's all about, right? Of course you want people to stay with you and stuff, but just as you were in that position one time, you want to see growth. Yes, so it makes me feel good. A friend of mine's doing a tasting today for a restaurant. I hope he gets it. Joe Zanelli, he's been a great chef around town for a long time. He was one of my original sous chefs. Jimmy mentioned Ren. He's been doing some great things around town. I know you had James Trees. He was an intern with us back in the Bellagio days. And I've probably been to his restaurant maybe 15, 20 times. I think he's doing a great job.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's definitely some good people, and some people that moved out. I just got a letter today from one of my old sous chefs. That's this guy, Ryan, that's a chef in Florida now.
Wow.
Talking about mentoring. So it makes you feel good.
Awesome. That's great. Well, you know what? I mean, I think, and Jimmy, we've had quite a few people that have been in the limelight and they've been on celebrity shows, and we have a lot of our viewers. They watch a lot of TV celebrity shows. And if you're in the business, we know that's kind of really not what life is like, right, Chef? So can you talk a little bit? You run a great operation. You are very successful. You have a tree below you. Can you give us a little, we already talked a little bit about the Italian fish coming in. Can you give us a little bit more about the daily operations and what you do on a daily basis rather than just run around and yell at people and all that stuff?
Yeah, I've always kind of been the working chef. I've been told, I'm always one with the, and that's what I like. I'm not a paper guy. I just barely was able to log on to this, but I like to cook in the kitchen. So I come in. I come in early in the morning, and I help with the prep list. I help with the production list. We really here we have two great ladies that make pasta. We make about 10 different fresh pastas a day. Wow. And literally we get rid of them at the end of the night, and then we start all over the next day. So it's really we all work together. And I think that's they see that, and it's kind of respectful. And then so just make sure that the cooks come in. If they need any help setting up, we give them a hand setting up. And then 5 o'clock, go through their stations, make sure everything's okay. And then I'm a big fan of once service starts, nothing else matters, right? The office doesn't matter. Emails don't matter. I mean, if the Yankees games are playing, I'll take a peek at the Yankees. But besides that, it's all business. And because that's, at the end of the day, service is what it's about, right?
Yeah.
And so we concentrate on service, deal with, the focus of service. And then I do a little order and, lock it up and then start over, which is, great about the restaurant business and challenging, right? It's just, you could have a great day in the restaurant business, and then after the day, it doesn't mean anything, right? The next day is starting from scratch.
You got it. It's like being a closer in baseball. You have to have a short memory, they say, right?
Yeah.
You could have the best shift of all time, and the next day is a disaster.
Yeah, and the things, it's going to happen sometimes, right? Food's not going to be perfect always, or something's going to happen with the wrong order, and you try to do your best and make up for it. And I know I've always been the thing is you don't know who you're serving, and I don't mean someone like celebrity. I mean you never, especially on the Strip. The restaurants are expensive, and you never. Maybe these people have been waiting all year to save up, or half the year. So and you think about it, and we get in this mind I just cooked 30 fillets tonight, or 20 pieces of branzino. But you got to as you're cooking, respect the product and really think about that experience that you're having out there. Think about you as the guest. So I've always tried to do that philosophy.
Yeah, well done. There's got to be some success involved for you to be where you're at. So well done,
right?
Chef. Congratulations.
And Chef, you eat what you make, right?
Yeah, we always, it's important to try. You need to taste while you cook, and you need to have a great team, and to buy into it for sure.
All right. Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Esther's Kitchen. What other places do you like to go around town? Give us a little insight of where you like to go eat.
So it's funny. About 8 years ago, I was asked to, through R&R Partners, I was asked to go through San Diego, Philadelphia, and somewhere else. But to talk about Vegas as more than just a gambling city, to promote it. It was through Bon Appetit, to promote it more of a food town. And back then I was saying, you know what Vegas really needs? It needs more local restaurants. It needs places where, and the Strip is very important. And we need to support the Strip. And I hate when people say, oh, you work on the Strip, you guys don't care about locals, or you just care about the conventions. It's not true. We're passionate. But to make Vegas a great city, I think it's important to have local restaurants where you could go to a couple times a month. So I like, and I think there's a lot of chefs doing a great job. A lot of these young guys are doing a great job. So I like Esther's a lot. I'm a big fan of Meraki.
Okay.
The Greek restaurant on Tropicana. I think they do a great job.
Trop and Rainbow?
Yeah, Trop and Rainbow. They do a great job. I love Viva Arepas. It's a Venezuelan place on the Strip.
Yep.
There's one on Rainbow too. Great roast chicken. I had a good meal at Sparrow and Wolf. I haven't been to La Strega yet, but I've been hearing some great things about La Strega. Okay. I've always liked Honey Salt. So there's a list of restaurants, and 5-6 years ago, you probably couldn't name a lot of local restaurants.
Mm-hmm. I went to EDO Tapas the other day too, Chef. If you haven't been up there, it was superstar. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was there pre-COVID, and Roberto used to work with us at Aqua, and I think they're doing a great job. Very reasonably priced.
Yes.
Really good. Nice plates, everything. I was really impressed.
Okay,
Mark,
great.
How about Chef? How about places, any off the Strip secrets like the Italian places or Mexican places that you've been to?
Besides, we all know Tacos de Gordo on the Strip. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that new Chinatown Plaza is really cool. I think it's called Chinatown Plaza. There's a little Hawaiian place on Rainbow and Spring Mountain where I think it's called Greenland Market. It's called Panini Cafe. Mochi donuts, great pokey. I've been there a couple times in the last few weeks.
Okay, great.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's more and more that you see, people opening restaurants and doing little things, from cafes. Our pastry chef just with her sister just opened a little place called Butter Bar. Doing thinking outside the box, right? Doing a lot of shipping and delivery. You have to, right?
Hey, Chef, what about not even during the pandemic, maybe now, let's call this almost post, right? We can almost call it almost post. What is that you're seeing that the guests are coming in, that they're thriving to eat? What is like a dish that most people are hitting in your restaurants?
What are some new trends, Chef? You guys are at the top of the food chain. Give us some trends that we can look for as consumers going out, or what we should be looking for.
Yeah, I think outside dining is really popular right now, right? I think people are we have a beautiful patio. So we've always had a high demand for the outside, but even more now. I don't know if people just feel more comfortable. But we are selling a lot of fish. People are, you see over the last years, people are more educated. People want good food and eat healthy, but they want to splurge too. But also, people ask a lot like, oh, where do you get this fish from? Where do you get this meat from? I think people are more educated and want to know where the source is coming from. And I think a trend over the years also has been these quick service places to hopefully replace the fast food places, right? Quick service, I think Meraki is a great example, right? You go in there, it's quick. Yeah, it's a few dollars more than the fast food, which it should be, but it's still reasonably priced and the food is really good. So I see that as a trend, but definitely people eating healthy. They're eating vegan, they're eating vegetarian, but they're just eating healthy, but still want good food.
Yeah. And you know what? And I think that one of the things, and you'll attest to, Chef, is making good food and doing it behind the scenes is not that astronomically harder than it is opening a box and getting your closest stuff from, that you got from your distributor. It's not that much more difficult. It just takes a little love. It takes a little craft. And you know what? People nowadays are willing to pay a few extra dollars to have something that's maybe twice as good for those $2 extra.
For sure. Yeah. I always say I want to spend $3 for dinner or $300, right? Or somewhere in between. There's so many times you go for a meal, you're like, wow, I could have done so much better, but you want to see some love. That's why the ethnic restaurants, there's always a lot of love in those restaurants, right?
Sure. Yeah. You got a little of the chef's sweat, maybe some of the ashes coming out from
you don't want the place too clean unless you're
exactly. Walk out there with the apron on, you got to do it a little. I remember those days. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, you're passionate.
You know what? I remember back in the day, you had that. What was it? The pie, the like the signature pot pie in Aqua, right? Yeah. Do you do anything like that anymore? Does anybody do that anymore? I mean, like
I'm sure Michael Mina, they're still doing it. Our big thing here is our whole fish that we'll roast all our whole fish. Sometimes we'll do the salt crust, but we roast all our fish and then we bring it. So first we have a great fish cart where we display over 40 species of fish in the cart. And then we bring it to the table and tell the story about it. To tell, hey, this isn't just a piece of fish that was caught, Lake Mead. This is Lake Mead. It was sourced. So that tells the story of the restaurant, which is great, and it makes people understand, the effort that we put into it. So
you don't sell stripers from Lake Mead.
No. But I think people appreciate that, there's a connection of you seeing the fish, the freshness already in their mind.
That's what it's all about, man. And Mark always asked this question. You got repeat. People keep coming back, correct?
Yeah, we have a good amount of repeat, even, for, being in the hotels and stuff. We have a good amount of repeat. We have a good amount of locals. And, like I said before, we appreciate locals. And, we see locals and we go the next step. Oh, this guy's a local or she's a local. And so, obviously we care about everybody, but yeah, we think it's great when locals come.
So we talked about a few people that you've already, you were a mentor for that are around town and being successful, and it always gives you a nice warm and fuzzy feeling. We've talked about some of your history with Chef Mina, Chef Keller, Chef Palmer. What kind of influences are there other mentors that you maybe haven't spoken of yet, or other places you've been to that really made an effect on your life, and you can feel yourself, giving the same vision to other people as you advance through your career?
Someone who I never worked for, but has always inspired me is Alice Waters at Japanese in San Francisco. And then when I moved to San Francisco, and I remember eating there, and the first time I walked in there, and they're polishing a pepper and wiping on every vegetable, and it's inspiring. And I think I really learned that from Northern California. And now it's kind of farm to table, or we only use seasonal stuff. But it's true, the best chef in the world can't make, something great out of a tomato in the winter, right? For the most part. But so I think, being in Northern California and really learning about the seasons and learning about the freshness, and, there's so many of those restaurants there that are doing that. And, back, 20, it's getting old, 20 years ago, right? Yeah. They're doing that. You forget how fast. But it's pretty cool. So I've always kind of, stuck with that philosophy, we change the menu with the seasons, and it's great. And it makes sense too from financial standpoint, right?
Yeah.
A strawberry in the spring, early summer is cheaper than a strawberry in the winter. It's not flown in, it's not pre-picked, mm-hmm. right? So it'd be ripe when it gets there. I remember a guy from Northern California telling me best tomatoes I ever had, and he couldn't sell his tomatoes to the supermarket because when they dropped, they smashed, which that's what you want a tomato, right? But because they weren't hard enough to stand up in the supermarket. But then I think, I've been to Italy 4 times. I think my travels through Italy and seeing the simplicity of a lot of food, and just, going to high-end restaurants, but also going to those little trattorias where, the family's cooking, and being inspired by it. Number one, finding great product. And there they take it for granted because it's so local. But just, cooking, grill a great piece of fish, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of great vegetables, it goes a long way. It's very satisfying.
It's amazing, and be able to go out and personally build the dish and find the best vendors, and then putting everything together and building your team has got to be very, very satisfying, and you're at the top of the food chain for it. So
thank you. And it really is like a team effort. Back in the day, it was according to the chef, everything went through the chef, right? But it really is, and it's something I've learned over the years and gotten better at. It needs to be a whole team with the front of the house, with the EMs, it's always like, oh, the chef, ream the waiter, right? And I have, don't get me wrong, right? But the waiter would love to go to every table and sell a tasting menu, right? Or sell the most expensive stuff, right? It helps them. But you're just not, it's not, if someone comes to this restaurant and orders a chicken Alfredo, whatever, I'll make it. It's chicken Alfredo. That's what the person wants. You're not going to talk to them into buying a 3 kilo fish, right? They want a chicken Alfredo, create a good, nice piece of chicken, make a nice Alfredo, and hopefully they'll appreciate it. And maybe they'll come back and try something else.
Make them the best damn chicken Alfredo they've ever had.
Yeah, the best one.
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't go to a restaurant and like every second was like, the waiter's telling you, well, the chef thinks you should have it like this, or the chef thinks you're like, I didn't know the chef was eating. So I've definitely gotten better over the years about, it's a partnership.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we touched a little bit about changing of operations, for the whole pandemic, and we've talked to almost everyone on the show. Are there any kind of silver linings that you've gotten out of this whole pandemic? Are there things that you've learned better about your operations that are you going to bring this into the next generation of service? Or what things can you make better and are like, wow, this is something I've never thought of. I can't wait to take this to the next level now.
Yeah. I think the first thing for me is like, if there's appreciation of your staff, of the, that it's not just take it for granted. The beginning of the year was probably 2 of our best months. I think it probably would have been one of the best years in Vegas. So I think there's appreciation for the guests that we have that still are coming here. Because, sometimes in Vegas, especially, you could get caught up the next convention. So I think there's definitely appreciation. I think we could be, being a little bit more efficient. And of course you want everybody to work and stuff, but you learn to maybe work with a little bit less right now. You have to. And I could just imagine, the independent restaurants, there got to be, especially with all the extra cleaning and all the extra stuff, it relates to dollars. Mm-hmm. So I think we become a little bit more efficient and really take on a little bit more everybody, because you have to right now. Yeah. So I think that as far as that appreciation and maybe a little more efficiency with everything.
Great, yeah. I mean, I can definitely see that, the appreciation. Jimmy and I have been out and speaking to a lot of staffs around town and local restaurants, and the reception that we get from the employees now are eyes wide open, people paying attention, people asking questions, people engaged, where I think we can all agree that, maybe some people were going through the motions a little bit more and I have to training and what is this guy going to talk about for a half an hour on health. Right. Now people are inattentive. They know that their fellow mates and colleagues are having difficulty and some people aren't working, and now they have a job, they have a place to go to. And I know that under your roof, it was well known that they were taking care of the staff during this whole time. So that's got to be even more appreciative. And, you're building a lifelong bond with these people now, right? Now it's not
for
just
sure.
normal employee coming in.
Yeah, and it's like to call people, and sometimes you're like, oh, do the people want me to call them? But you call them and you can hear their voice that they're happy you called them. Your employees, maybe there's insurance in it, and it's a scary time, right? And hopefully, like you said, we're getting towards the end of it. But it was definitely a scary time because we thought it was only going to be a couple of weeks to be back to work, right?
Oh sure. Yeah, and Mark, you hit right on the thing, because Chef, you'll know this too. In the history, no matter how good you are at it, anyone who wants to teach food safety, it don't matter. To anyone who's ready to get going in a restaurant, regardless you're front of house, back of the house, the last thing you really want to deal with, right, is to hear a guy get up there and talk food code, right? But Mark and I, just like what Mark said, people are so into everything now that they want it. They want to hear everything. They want to hear if there's anything new on the horizon. They want to hear it, and it's like remarkable. I mean, I've learned more about the front of the house operations, just myself teaming up with Mark when we do some trainings, that I've ever known. Forget about putting the let's put the food code on the side, because I've learned how people interact. You know what I mean? I've always dealt with it in the kitchen because I always knew. You know what I mean? What our philosophy was back then, just like everybody else does. Here's the health department rules. Here's what you do. Let's meet in the middle. But then on the front of the house side, it's completely different. You know what I mean? They do it, and now they have to worry, and they want to know what's going on in the kitchen, like the kitchen wants to know what's going on in the front of the house.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ownership. I mean, we were just at we opened up, we did Piero's, which just opened up this Friday, and we did a 2.5 hour long training, and we were there for another 2.5 hours after questions and still answering them. So it's
wow,
it's
good.
good.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to do their part, and I think most people are willing to. We're definitely in this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like your point, Chef, that the engagement to the guests now as well. We can't expect that we open the door and 1 million people are coming in the doors like they were before. Now everyone's coming in. Now we have to engage them and create. And you hit the nail on the head, especially on the Strip, and especially on some of the places on the Strip. There's some of the most expensive restaurants in the entire world, and people are coming there for a one-in-a-lifetime experience or an anniversary or a vacation. Now we just can't treat them in and out like we have 10 people waiting for them. Now we have to show them why they're paying that amount for it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So what's the decor? Where are you sitting at right now, Chef?
I'm in our private dining room, actually. We have 2 private dining rooms. This one seats about 20 people. So I'm and then I'm looking over our patio, which is pretty nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's one of the most. Anyone who's never been to the restaurant and Chef, you want to tell us about the restaurant again? We haven't talked about it for a little bit for all those viewers.
It's Costa de Mare, and like I said, we specialize in seafood, and over 95% of our fish is imported from Italy. So it is a beautiful restaurant. It's beautiful. We have about 12 cabanas outside, overlooking. We're not part of the show. Sometimes people ask, "Do you have this show?" Sure. Which they just change. We'd like to say the show's on the plate.
Chef, you're the show.
Yeah, you're the show. You're the show. It's your food, man.
It really is, and how they do it, and in some of these hotels, it's really beautiful. But it's just as much effort put into service and food. It's not just like we'll build these pretty places.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a pretty unique restaurant. I would say I'm proud to work here.
That's awesome. Great. That is definitely awesome. And you get to put your heart and soul into everything, and that's what the key is,
Yeah, for sure. And people ask me like, oh, my son wants to be a chef. My daughter wants to be a chef. And, I just tell them it's a great business if you're passionate about it, right? Because we all know, you work holidays, you work weekends.
Right.
Sometimes it works out. You can avoid family and stuff, but
yeah.
But no, it really is. If you're passionate about it, it's a great career. I mean, I've got to travel places that I've never, would thought about going to do cooking events or just be a guest, and the camaraderie. And there's something different about kitchen people, right? Like we might be a little socially awkward or whatever, but there's a camaraderie among us, and there's it's the people that would bring you to the airport at 2:00 in the morning. And, but you have to be passionate about it. If it's just a job and you're not, there's probably some easier jobs out there.
It's not a 9-to-5 job if you want to climb that ladder. No.
Yeah, and especially when you move up in the ranks, it's not a job you can do from home, right?
Right.
You need a little balance. So someday I'll learn it, but it's not a job that you can do from home, right? Because it's especially during service.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you also need to learn and trust your sous chefs and let them grow and take on more responsibility. It's going to make you a better restaurant.
Awesome.
Right. That is great. That is great. So are there any other things that are going on besides the chef world that maybe you're looking at in the future, or what do you think? What's happening with you? I like it. You got that smile.
No, over the years, people would always ask me, like, you can open your own place? And I'm like, I'm already kind of neurotic and I don't own my own place. I don't know, honestly, and now I feel really fortunate to be able to work at a great hotel and to have the guests that we like, and to have the resources. And these guys, I mean, I like to work hard, but these independent restaurants, there's a lot of, you talked about coming from independent to a restaurant to hotel. It's like it sounds so silly, but like in hotels, especially like Bellagio and the Wynn, like you always have towels in the kitchen. Like you always, something breaks, you call engineering. You work in an independent restaurant. First of all, you might get 1 or 2 towels a day. You hide them in the tiles. Everybody steals them. Your oven breaks. Maybe the guy's going to come. Maybe he's going to come, then look at it and come back 3 days later without the parts. We complain, oh, I called engineering 15 minutes ago. They're not here yet.
Yeah.
So, there's some things you have to deal with. that could be a little negative, but for the most part, there's so many luxuries of working in a hotel.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to afford to pay the staff a good living, so you're able to recruit better. So I'm pretty happy here. So as of right now, I'm pretty good.
That's well said. Yeah, we've spoken to a lot of people who have been in resorts and independent casinos, and then their own restaurants. And that's my background. I've gone back and forth, and your card might say the same thing as executive chef or general manager, but the two jobs are completely two different jobs. I mean, ultimately you're taking care of the guests, but how you get from point A to B, and your oven breaking down, and the lights going out, and the air conditioner breaking, it's a lot easier to call up the engineering and the central system rather than it is trying to do it yourself,
Yeah. I do believe people should work in independent restaurants first. Some of these guys get a little too spoiled, not having to do family meal and all the kind of things that, you deal with in the independent restaurants.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
All right, Jimmy, I think Chef's a busy guy. I think we got to ask him.
No, he's a busy dude. He's a great guy. And I'm really happy that you're here. There's one thing left that Mark does at the end of the show, okay? And it's a very good question. I mean, we've had some wild ones, huh, Mark? Some wild.
We've had some good answers so far. So
yeah, so it's your turn, Chef. Here you go. Go ahead, Mark. Tell Chef.
Well, Chef, you said you've been here over 20 years now, so that's definitely a long-term Las Vegas tenure. You and I have opened Encore and Bellagio together. But anyway, the point is that. So there's a lot of things that happen in the restaurant business or in Las Vegas here that you wouldn't, if you were in another city or another industry, you wouldn't believe that it happened. So I want you to give our watchers our viewers a story, a Las Vegas story, whether it be personal, a gambling story, a celebrity story, that you really wouldn't believe it unless you were talking to Jimmy and I. If you were talking to somebody in the UK, they wouldn't believe it.
I think it's just. First of all, you never see, even in cities like New York and San Francisco, you never see the indulgence on a regular basis like you see in Vegas. A two-top ordering, and we had a two-top a few years ago, ordered 17 orders of white truffles, at $100 a pop. And then like over the years, you just get these characters. And I remember when I first started Bellagio, we'd have this well-known guy come in. We'll just call him Mike for the story. But most people know him, right? He likes to use colorful language. And all that stuff. And I remember he ordered caviar, and I sent him out caviar with traditional garnishes, and we were fancy using creme fraiche. And he was like, "What the, what is this, right? Well, I don't want this, that. Give me some sour cream, right?" And he's eating one spoon of caviar or a spoon of sour cream from the tub. He wanted the tub, right? So you get used to people like that, and you get used to like nothing shocks you. We used to have a lady come into Aqua, and then she followed me over to the Wynn. We would do a whole foie gras. It was usually for the table. It came from caramelized apples. And it's usually good for 4 or 5 people. She would eat the whole foie herself. And I remember one day, so she came, and she wanted well done, sweetest lady. This maybe once a month. And then she came to Wynn one day, and she's like, "Can you make that foie for me?" I was like, "Yeah." So I made it for her. She came back a couple weeks later. She's like, "Hey, I'm on a diet, right?" I'm like, "Okay, so no problem. No foie today?" She's like, No, I'm doing Atkins. Just get the apples. So I just think that the regular, like the day-to-day people you run into in Vegas and the game, from the person buying a pizza and then asking for an ounce of caviar just to spread it around there, right? I'm not talking smoked salmon pizza. I'm talking like classic margaritas. So you just see these, between the villas and these, nothing kind of shocks you after a few years.
And it's crazy. Where do these people learn these habits from to begin with to want to indulge here in Las Vegas, right? What kind of life?
Crazy world, man.
I bet you the story you were telling about with Mike, I bet you that he asked you to come to the table to tell you personally, right? It wasn't transmitted for the GM or the server. He told you personally.
And it wasn't like, "Excuse me, can I tell you something?" It was
correct. Yes.
Yeah. I remember one time I made him a lamb rack. Well done, single job. He was like, "This is, great, right?" Next day comes in, right? I do exactly the same thing. I mean, I didn't change one thing. "This is the worst thing I've ever had in my life." And you just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of
he was a big he was a big patron of one of my restaurants that used to come in all the time. So
Yeah, you just never knew what you were going to get.
correct. Yes. Yeah.
I love the ones that sit there and they call the health department. Oh, I got sick. I was just at this place 10 minutes ago. And you get come on. I know.
Put me
It's
in
all
trouble.
over the place. Chef, thank you very much, pal.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Keep in touch, man. We'll catch up soon, buddy.
Yeah, we'll have to do more than 20 years.
Yeah, right?
All right, guys. Thank you.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Great guy. Yeah,
he's been around. He's super, and he's like he says he's a working man's chef, and he just puts his head down and he just does it, and he's a testimony of what it takes when you're around by good people and you have good people around you. So and he mentioned several times, give the guests what they want. If they want chicken Alfredo, I mean that's what it is in the seafood restaurant, right? You make them the best chicken Alfredo, and you have them talking about it and coming back again.
Right. You got to give it to them. You have to. You got anything coming up next week? I know I've been pretty busy with a lot of people with all the new things happening. How about you, pal? Got anything coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the training of a new restaurant that's opening up on Sahara and Decatur here in town. We're finalizing. We'll probably be doing a large job fair. I'll have details next week for those who are maybe looking for some work out there or know somebody who is. They can come to us, and we'll have a couple of days of a job fair, and I'll be doing the training myself. So these people are going out of their way for a state-approved, training in their employees to start out. So kudos to them. So we'll have more details next week. So
excellent. All right, Mark, have a good one, buddy. I'll catch up with you, and until next week, I'm not giving it away. So see you soon, pal.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck, everybody. Take care.